Well, we're going to go ahead and kick things off. So this is our very first level of Spanish that we offer here at the language school, Fundamentos de Español, Lección 1. In this course, we are preparing you to have basic conversations at work and in your community, as well as for travel. So the idea is after you take this course, we normally do this in approximately 3 months here at the language school. We're going to do this in the next 2 to 3 days. You should be fairly conversational and be able to introduce yourself, make small talk, order food in restaurants, and go shopping. And we're also going to teach you a lot of the cultural differences for each of these topics. Okay? So our very first lesson is basically just trying to teach you how to introduce yourself. So we're going to teach you some greetings that you can use in Spanish when saying hi to people. We'll teach you a culture tip of the appropriate way to greet people. This changes from one country to another. We've also got a little conversation tip about our cognates. So you should be able to actually speak a lot more Spanish than you think, even if you've never studied it a day in your life. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. We're also going to talk about our pronunciation. And with that, I'm going to teach you how to pronounce each vowel. We'll look at our numbers up to 10, and we'll talk about some vocabulary for work and for school. All right. My contact information is all here. Please write it down. I always encourage everybody to connect with me via email, phone, Facebook, or LinkedIn. So send me a shout out later. But just to kick things off, so why am I teaching Spanish? I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience. Yo viví en Estados Unidos, en España, en Argentina, Chile, y también viví en Ecuador. So viví means I lived, okay, in the past tense. So I lived in the United States, Spain, Argentina, Chile, and Ecuador. All of these are Spanish-speaking countries. So I've been around Spanish a whole lot. Viajé means I traveled to. Viajé a Cuba, República Dominicana, México, Colombia, Uruguay y también a Bolivia. ¿Y tú, Megan, dónde viviste?
Yo viví en los Estados Unidos, en Colorado.
Okay,
es todo.
Okay, está bien. And have you traveled to a Spanish-speaking country? ¿A dónde viajaste?
Sí, yo viajé a Brasil.
Muy bien.
Hablan portugués, y también yo viajé a Perú.
Okay, muy bien, perfecto. How was Peru? I've always wanted to go there.
It's amazing.
Yeah, nice. I actually tried to go to Peru. That's when I ended up in Bolivia, but I had a little complication in Bolivia and didn't quite make it to Peru. Bueno, mi experiencia profesional. Yo soy maestro de español desde el 2005 y soy el fundador de The Language School. Yo estudié en la universidad y me gradué en el año 2007. Soy titulado en los negocios internacionales, el español y el mercadeo. ¿Y tú?
A ver, yo tenía muchos trabajos, pero ahora soy una profesora de la Escuela de Inglés, de lenguas, de idiomas.
Muy bien.
Y estudié a la Universidad de Colorado en Boulder para o por 4 años.
Por 4 años.
Gracias, por 4 años. Y yo estudié lingüística, inglés y portugués.
Muy bien, Megan. All right, so a little something fun about me. Me gusta means I like. Me gusta tocar la guitarra y tocar los tambores. Me gusta viajar por el mundo. Me gusta ir al gimnasio y hacer ejercicio para ponerme fuerte. Me gusta leer libros y me gusta ver películas. Algo interesante, something interesting about me. Algo interesante. Yo bailaba con un grupo profesional de salsa. So I used to dance with a professional salsa group. ¿Y a ti, Megan, qué te gusta?
Me gusta leer, me gusta escuchar a música y me gusta ir al museos.
Ajá, muy bien, Megan. Okay, ¿por qué estudiar español? Why study Spanish? Well, there's over 20 countries in the world that speak Spanish. And even if you're not in a Spanish-speaking country, it can really help you. It's actually becoming a pretty strong requirement for a lot of work or employment type situations here in the United States, especially in a city like Denver. And the reason is the United States is gradually turning into a bilingual country. We live in Denver, Colorado, which is by all means a bilingual city. About 50% of the people that live here speaks English. That's only half the population. Over 30% of the population here in Denver speaks Spanish. And then the other 20% is made up of a whole bunch of different languages. But here we have a situation where 50% and 30% speak two common languages. That puts an enormous need for a lot of people that deal with the regular public, retail, healthcare, education to be bilingual. And then in certain industries where we see a majority of the labor being done by Spanish speakers, like construction, landscaping, hospitality, that sort of thing, people that are bilingual definitely have an edge when it comes to getting employed. And Spanish is the second most spoken language in the world with over 500 million Spanish speakers. So it's a great language to learn how to speak. These are my reasons for learning how to speak Spanish. We're talking way back in 2000, 2001 is when I got really serious about learning how to speak Spanish. I had just graduated from high school at the time, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life, but the circumstances that I was living under kind of opened my eyes to the need to learn how to speak Spanish. I was living in an apartment building where almost all of my neighbors, and we're talking in Boulder, Colorado, one of the least diverse cities, I think, in this entire country. I was living in an apartment building full of Spanish speakers. So almost all of my neighbors were from Mexico, and I was constantly hearing Spanish when I was walking through the halls and coming home and leaving for work and that sort of thing. I really am very attracted to Spanish women, so I thought, maybe if I learned a little Spanish, I could get a Spanish-speaking girlfriend. And I had always traveled or always dreamed of traveling all over the world, and especially going down through, Latin America. The idea of going out through the Amazon and, just these adventures really was appealing to me. So I thought speaking Spanish would help me do that. And it certainly did. Later, kind of looking more at my professional goals and ambitions, just immediately at the time I was working in construction where a ton of the people that I worked with spoke Spanish and didn't really speak a whole lot of English. So I wanted to be able to talk to everybody that I worked with. And at the time I had just enrolled in night classes at CU Boulder. And just because of that, the general contractor on the job site that I was working on knew that I was the only person that was capable of kind of bridging the gap. And I had very limited Spanish at the time. So it kind of immediately gave me this supervisor role, even though I had really no experience working on a construction job site. I was kind of the point person for all these Spanish-speaking crews that would show up. So that was a really cool thing. I didn't want to work in construction forever, so I wanted to be able to put on my resume that I was bilingual so I could be a little bit more competitive in the job market. And then I wanted to be flexible with where I worked. I didn't imagine that I would be working for the rest of my life in the United States. So I thought there was a strong possibility of living and working abroad. And so, of course, learning how to speak Spanish would help me with that. So if you have this book, one of the first activities I have my students do, I think is on page 10 of the book, and that is to open it up and just kind of write down your objectives, both your personal and your professional objectives with learning how to speak Spanish. Megan, you're currently our only student on the line. What would you say were some of your reasons for learning how to speak Spanish, both personal and professional?
Yeah, so very similar to what you described. I currently live in an apartment complex with lots and lots of Spanish speakers. So being able to communicate with people I see every day. Also for work, I love teaching and I want to be able to talk to my students. And yeah, to put on a resume, I'm bilingual, and just for fun, I find it interesting.
Yeah, it's cool. Nice. Anything else?
I think that's about it. I started learning Portuguese a little in school, so it's similar and I want to learn more. So I think learning Spanish will help me bridge to other languages too.
Nice. So there's another important reason why I always have my students start off by thinking about your reasons with learning how to speak Spanish. Learning how to speak a new language, I don't think is that hard, but it's also not that easy. The hardest part about it is just the time it takes. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. You have to really kind of put this as one of your top priorities for the next 3 to 6 months to really start speaking with a little bit of confidence and to kind of start perfecting the language. You know, you're gonna want to study it for quite some time. You know, we're talking possibly a year or even longer. I studied Spanish for about 7 years. I'm a Spanish teacher now, so not everybody needs to study it that long. But yeah, we're talking about something that takes quite a bit of time, and along that way, it's possible you might get a little bit discouraged. So if you have a nice list of your reasons for wanting to learn how to speak Spanish, you can remind yourself over the time. Let's see here, Katina. Can you hear me, Katina? Let's see here, you're on mute. Let's see if I can unmute you. It should be working. We've got a couple of other people joining us. So for the people that are just joining us, I do believe that you are automatically muted. I'm trying to unmute you. Katina, I don't know why I can't unmute you. You might have to do something on your end of things to unmute the audio. Let's see, who is F?
It's me, it's Francis.
Hey, Francis, hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Okay, I got a message from Katina that she is here with us, but she's in a place with a loud background, so that's why she's muted. Okay, perfect. Cool. Well, I'm glad we've got a couple more participants here. Let's see here, we're gonna keep it going here. So just so you know, at the language school, we try to use a holistic approach to learning how to speak Spanish. And what that means is that we try and teach you not just one dialect or one style of Spanish, but we try and have a flexible Spanish program. So if you're looking at this map here, Spanish comes from this country in the middle called Spain over in Europe, but then it later spread throughout the world. You can see it's spoken a little bit in a couple of countries in Africa. I think that's Angola. Over here in Asia and the Philippines, and then if you look especially, of course, in Latin America, from basically Antarctica up to Canada, Spanish is a heavily spoken language. Just like here in the United States, if you've ever heard somebody speak English that's from Georgia or versus New York, you know, they speak two pretty unique versions of English. Francis, who's on the line with us, is from the Caribbean and also lived in London, and of course knows that especially when we speak English from one country to another, that it can vary pretty greatly. So the same thing happens with Spanish. There's a lot of different accents and styles of Spanish. And I lived in 5 different Spanish-speaking countries, so I thought it was really important to try and create more of a flexible program where we can kind of teach the differences and say, hey, in Spain you might say this word this way, or in Mexico this way. So we've tried to create a pretty holistic program. No matter where you're planning on going, you should be able to prepare yourself with our program. And finally, before we get started, it's okay to make mistakes. It is better to speak while you're in class with us than to remain quiet. So everybody that can, please try and talk while you're on the line with us today. The teacher needs to know how to help you. So if you're talking and you're making mistakes, that's actually a good thing. If you're just being quiet and kind of let the teacher do his thing, you know, it's not really that helpful for you. Another thing here at the language school, we respect everybody. Everybody's here for the same reason. We're all here to learn. Everybody's here with the same amount of experience. So no one's ever going to make fun of you here. So think about that and just relax, have fun with it. And another really good thing is that sometimes people are hesitant to ask questions. But there's a very good chance if you have a question that your classmate has the exact same question, so go ahead and ask it, you know, and you're probably going to help out yourself as well as everybody in the class. All right, so we're going to watch a quick little video, and I hope this comes through over Zoom. This is kind of the first time I'm doing it, so let's see. In the first lesson of Spanish here at the language school, we teach our students how to make a proper introduction in Spanish. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to have the following conversation and introduce yourself in Spanish.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, estoy bien.
Me llamo Shakira. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Mark.
¿Cómo se deletrea tu nombre?
M-A-R-C.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
¿De dónde eres?
Soy de Puerto Rico.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Florida.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en Nueva York.
¿Qué te gusta?
Me gusta cantar.
¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono?
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Bien, estamos en contacto.
Me parece bien.
Hasta luego.
Nos vemos. Okay, guys, how'd that come across on the video?
I could hear that.
You could?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. Cool. Yeah, this is my first time really doing this personally over the Zoom, so I'm glad to hear that the audio is coming across. Does anybody have any question about that? We're going to go through and practice it. Any questions? No? Okay. So here's the dialogue, and we can just go around. So I'm going to start by asking Megan. Hola, Megan.
Hola, David.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Good. Why don't you ask Francis?
Hola, Francis.
Hola, Megan.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien. Estoy muy bien.
Nice. All right. So a little bit about the culture of greeting people. On top of just kind of our verbal communication, we also have nonverbal communications to look at. And it can change significantly. So I think most people here in the United States are accustomed to giving people a hug in an informal situation. So thinking about when you see some friends and family, you know, we go out and give them a hug. In Latin America, this will typically take place with a little kiss on the cheek, just a little un besito. This can happen between men and women, between women and women. And in certain countries, in Argentina, and I know also Cuba does this as well, the men will kiss each other on the cheek to say hi to each other, if they're friends and family members, that sort of thing. In more formal business type situations, it really is situational, you know. You might see un apretón de manos, a handshake, but you might also see people kissing each other on the cheek. This can happen as well when you are introducing a friend to another friend. People might kiss each other on the cheek, but if you're just meeting somebody kind of random for the first time, a handshake is more common. Even within the Spanish-speaking world, we have a lot of different cultures. Some are a little bit more formal than others. When I lived in Argentina, it was very kind of touchy-feely, kisses all over the place. When I was traveling and I went up to see some friends in Colombia, I was surprised at how many people stuck their hands out to shake their hands with me. So yeah, it can change a little bit. If you're about to get on a plane and go travel, you want to study up a little bit and just kind of look up the cultural traditions that come along with greeting people in the country that you're about to go to. All right. Moving on along, one of the first steps for learning how to speak a language is to learn the pronunciation. Spanish is fairly simple. It's a phonetic language. The vowels are pretty much always the same. So repeat after me. A,
A,
E,
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 I,
I,
O,
O,
U.
U.
All right. We're going to practice this a little bit more here. So repiten. A,
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 nada,
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 mapa,
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 hasta,
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 papa,
papá,
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 mamá.
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 All right, so what's the deal with this papa and papa? You see the second one has the little accent mark over the A, and the reason for that is Spanish is naturally going to be accented on the second to last syllable. So papa is pronounced with the emphasis on this first one, pa, right? We see the accent mark here, and that tells us we have to shift the emphasis to the second one, papa. And this does matter because that little accent mark actually completely changes the meaning of these two words. So this one is papa, that means potato. This one is papa, which means dad. So you don't want to call your dad a potato, and you do want to pay attention to the accent marks in Spanish. Let's move along. A,
A,
me,
me,
es,
B,
es,
bebe,
bebe,
bebe, este,
tele,
tele,
L,
leche.
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 All right, muy bien. Let's see here. We've got a new participant, Sanchez. Sanchez, if you're there, say hi. All right. Well, he's not saying hi. He or she isn't saying hi yet. Hopefully they'll join in a minute. All right, next one. We've got the letter E.
I,
I,
Fin,
in,
fin,
civil,
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 tímido,
tímido,
italiano,
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 biblia,
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 difícil,
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 o,
o,
poco.
poco,
loco,
loco,
Yep, we're starting with loco, aren't we? Loco,
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 poco,
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 como,
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 ocho,
ocho,
coco,
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 todo.
todo,
All right, muy bien.
u,
u,
Tú,
tú,
club,
club,
Club.
anuncio,
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 mucho,
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 música,
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 cultura.
cultura.
All right, perfect. All right, so now let's learn how to introduce ourselves in Spanish. I'll start with you, Megan. Hola, me llamo David. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Megan,
Mucho gusto.
igualmente.
All right, now Megan to Francis.
Hola Francis, me llamo Megan. ¿Cómo te llamas?
me llamo Francis,
Mucho gusto.
igualmente.
All right. Sanchez, do you want to participate? Just say hi if you're there.
Yeah, David, I don't know if you can see, but there's a group chat.
I see Sanchez said hi to us.
I don't know if anyone can hear him, but he did send a message.
Yeah, okay. Well, Sanchez, these are conversation classes, so please, join us verbally. But I guess we'll go ahead and move on to the next activity. Okay, so these are some pretty common conversation starters when you are meeting somebody for the first time in Spanish that might come up, okay? Megan, ¿de dónde eres?
Soy de Estados Unidos.
So that question means where are you from? And Megan is answering by saying, I am from the United States. ¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Denver.
So that question means where do you live? And Megan says, I live in Denver. ¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en Modelo.
All right. So that one is asking, where do you work? And she is answering by saying, I work in Montbello. All right, Megan to Francis.
Francis, ¿dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres?
Soy de Barbados.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Aurora.
¿Y dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en Montbello.
All right, muy bien. Moving on along. So when you're first meeting people, one of the best things to talk about is what you like, okay? So we're gonna start off with a little round of ¿Qué te gusta? Below you can see some of the different options. Megan, ¿qué te gusta?
Me gusta la comida china.
All right, muy bien. Francis, ¿qué te gusta?
Me gusta la comida mexicana, me gusta el vino, me gusta el fútbol americano y me gusta bailar.
Nice. All right. Let's see here, moving on along. ¿Qué te gusta hacer? So this is just a little variation of the same question, right? With this one, we are saying, what do you like to do? So, Megan, ¿qué te gusta hacer?
Me gusta leer ciencia ficción.
All right. Megan, ask Francis.
Francis, ¿qué te gusta hacer?
Me gusta correr en el parque y me gusta cocinar la comida estadounidense.
All right, perfecto. Okay, who knows what this means? Puedo hacer una pregunta.
Can I ask a question?
Right, very good, Francis. This next little section is dedicated to some really important questions that are going to help you navigate the Spanish-speaking world. If you're here in class with us today and you want to ask questions, by all means ask questions. But in order to be polite, it's always good to preface your questions with this simple little question. Puedo hacer una pregunta. What about this question? ¿Cómo se dice student? What do you think this means?
How do you say student?
Yeah, very good. So almost everything that you need to learn how to say that you wish you could say in Spanish right now is going to be new for you and you don't know how to say. So get really comfortable asking this. ¿Cómo se dice? Let's practice. So why don't you start, Megan? You're going to start with the question in green and then ask number one.
Entonces, ¿puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Cómo se dice computer?
Se dice computadora. All right, now Francis, let's just take turns.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Cómo se dice office?
Se dice oficina.
¿Cómo se dice paper?
Se dice papel.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Cómo se dice employee?
Se dice empleado.
¿Cómo se dice director?
Se dice director.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Cómo se dice student?
Se dice estudiante.
¿Cómo se dice conference room?
Se dice salón de conferencia.
¿Cómo se dice classroom?
Se dice salón de clase. All right, great. Here's our last important question of the day. ¿Qué significa estudiante? What does this question mean?
Go ahead, Megan.
Sorry. What does student or estudiante mean? Sorry.
Yeah, it literally means what does estudiante mean, okay? So just like you need to learn how to say things in Spanish, you also need to learn what things mean in English when you're hearing people talk. So let's practice with this. Go ahead, let's start with you this time, Francis.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Qué significa computadora?
Computadora significa computer.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Qué significa oficina?
Oficina significa office.
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí.
¿Qué significa papel?
Papel significa paper.
¿Qué significa empleado?
Empleado significa employee.
¿Qué significa director?
Director significa director.
¿Qué significa estudiante?
Estudiante significa student.
¿Qué significa salón de conferencia?
Salón de conferencia significa conference room.
¿Y qué significa salón de clase?
Salón de clase significa classroom. All right, muy bien. So just a quick little recap. You've learned 3 really important questions. Puedo hacer una pregunta, which means... Can I
Can
ask?
Can I ask a question?
Question?
Como se dice student, which means...
How do
How
you
do you
say
say student?
student?
And finally, ¿qué significa estudiante?
What does,
What does estudiante mean?
mean?
Nice job, everybody. Really good. All right, so did you know you actually know a lot more Spanish than you think you know? The reason is Spanish and English share a common mother language, which is called Latin. Whenever 2 or more languages share another root language, they actually end up having a lot in common. So we're going to start off with this little tip here called Cognates, just to give you a little bit more confidence when it comes to speaking Spanish. There's a lot of words that you're going to look at and instantly say, hey, that just looks like the word in English, right? So I like to tell my students about where the word bank comes from. So back, I think in the 13 or 1400s, when the Romans used to do commerce all over Europe, they established what's now our modern day system of banking. Well, it looked a lot different back then. Back then it would be somebody that was sitting on a bench out at these open air markets and surrounded by, the Roman soldiers for security. And this was somebody that you could go to, make a deposit and get money out of. Now, the Italian word for bench was banca. So the word bank comes from this Italian word banca. Naturally, as the Romans went all over Europe, this pronunciation would change a little bit. And in Spain, it changed from banca to banco. And by the time that it made its way over to England, it changed into bank. So these words all look and sound pretty similar. The moral of this story is that when you're learning how to speak a new language, if you're seeing words that look similar, try and go with that a little bit. You can guess, and in a lot of instances, you'll be right. So let's take a look at what that means. Repite, actor.
Actor.
Or
¿Qué significa actor?
Actor.
Actor, yeah, of course. It's the exact same word. Just the pronunciation. What about repite, chocolate?
Chocolate.
chocolate.
What do you think that one means? ¿Qué significa?
Chocolate.
Yeah, of course. Director.
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 What does that mean?
Director.
Yeah. Final.
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 ¿Qué significa final?
Final.
Hotel.
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 ¿Qué significa hotel?
Hotel.
Mango.
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 ¿Qué significa?
Mango.
Oh, of course. Normal.
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 ¿Qué significa?
Normal.
Good. Pasta.
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 ¿Qué significa?
Pasta.
Yeah. What about simple?
Simple.
Simple.
¿Qué significa?
Simple.
Simple. Yeah. So for being your very first day of Spanish, you shouldn't know what any of these words mean, but you know instantly because they're all cognates. Okay? Our languages aren't so different. Between the phonetic pronunciation of Spanish and the 5 vowel sounds, sharing the alphabet, and then having the mother, Latin language being involved, Spanish is probably one of the easiest languages to learn for English speakers. All right. Moving on along, we're going to go into our numbers, okay? Repiten. 0.
Cero.
1.
Uno.
Uno.
2.
Dos.
Dos.
3.
Tres.
3,
4,
Cuatro.
5,
Cinco.
5,
6,
Seis.
7,
Siete.
8,
8,
Ocho.
9,
9,
Nueve.
10.
Diez.
All right, nice job. Let's play a little game. ¿De quién es el número? Whose number is it? So I'm going to read you a number. Megan, tell me whose number this is. 911.
el número por emergencia.
That's the emergency contact number. That's right. Francis, ¿de quién es el número? 720-251-6652.
It's the language school.
Indeed. All right. Megan, 303-218-6242.
The number for Walmart.
Uh-huh. And the last one here, 303-576-0065.
Domino's Pizza.
Okay. Megan, ¿cuál es tu número de teléfono?
Mi número de teléfono es 303-915-5443.
Muy bien. Francis, ¿cuál es tu número de teléfono?
Mi número de teléfono es 719-464-2525.
Perfecto. All right, now I want you to write my number down. Apunta mi número. If you're watching, you can put this in the comments section of the Zoom group chat, okay? Apunta mi número.
Where's that? Sorry.
What's that?
Sorry. I think I found it.
Found it? Okay, good. Because I have no idea how to tell you to find it. All right, so apunta mi número. 720-257-8539. All right, Francis, perfect. Yeah. Megan, you got it. All right, nice, everybody, good. All right, moving on along. So another great thing about numbers is that numbers revolve around money, and when you go traveling throughout the Spanish-speaking world, you better hope you know your numbers for when you're buying things, right? Megan, ¿cuánto cuesta un papel?
Un papel cuesta un centavo.
All right. Why don't you ask this question, and I'll just have you two take turns asking these questions back and forth.
¿Cuánto cuesta un bolígrafo?
Un bolígrafo cuesta $1. ¿Cuánto cuesta un lápiz?
Un lápiz cuesta 5 centavos. ¿Cuánto cuesta un marcador?
Un marcador cuesta $2. ¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de papel?
Un paquete de papel cuesta $5. ¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de lápices?
Un paquete de lápices cuesta $6. ¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de bolígrafos?
Un paquete de bolígrafos cuesta $7. ¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de marcadores?
Un paquete de marcadores cuesta $8. ¿Cuánto cuesta un libro de español?
Un libro de español cuesta $9. ¿Cuánto cuesta una pizarra?
Una pizarra cuesta $10.
All right, nice job. So let's matar dos pájaros de un tiro, which means to kill two birds with one stone. We are going to learn some Spanish for both school and work, okay? Okay, the first word is cosas. Cosas means things. Repite, cosas.
Cosas.
Computadora,
Computadora.
impresora,
Impresora.
televisión,
Televisión.
proyector,
Proyector.
marcador,
Marcador.
papel.
Papel.
Now we have lugares. Lugares means places. Salón de conferencia,
Salón de conferencia.
salón de clase,
Salón de
Salón de
clase.
clase.
oficina,
Oficina.
Oficina.
escuela.
Escuela.
Personas means people. Profesora,
Profesora.
Profesora.
estudiante.
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 Director,
Director.
Director.
empleado.
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 All right. Vamos a practicar. So, in the books, go ahead to Amazon.com, buy the book, Let's Start Talking, Spanish Foundations, and you will find at the end of every chapter, we have flashcards included for you. So, on one side, the word in English, let me see if I can get this open for you. So you've got the words in English on one side, and on the other side, you have the words in Spanish, okay? So the idea is that you're gonna cut these words out of your book, and you're gonna get this nice little stack of flashcards, okay? Now, the idea here is really to simplify this process of learning how to speak a new language. It's not that hard if you make it simple. If you make it hard, it's going to be super hard. But I'm here to make the complicated more simple for you. And I've been teaching Spanish for a really long time. And the vast majority of students that I've had that were struggling with the language were struggling not with the grammar, contrary to common belief, but just with learning the words. If you learn words, you can start communicating. With just one word, you can actually get your idea across. So we want to start always by learning how to just memorize our words. Now, this is a scientifically proven process to help you memorize words a lot faster and a lot more efficiently. And I've included these in the book so you can just cut them out. I'm trying to get organized, so just bear with me here so I can show you how to do this activity, because there is a right way and a better way to doing this. And I want to show you the better way to doing this. Okay, so start off by cutting out your flashcards, right? Now you want to organize them so that you're looking at the side in Spanish, right? So can you see what that word says?
Lápiz.
Lápiz. All right, very good. So when you get your flashcards here, you're going to be looking at that word in Spanish, okay? Now the first step is you want to learn how to understand Spanish. And this is because naturally when you're learning your first language, when little kids are learning how to speak a new language, they learn how to understand the language far before they're able to start producing the language. So in kind of geeky academic terms, you know, we've got what we call language acquisition, which is the ability to learn how to actually start using a language. And the first step is comprehension, and the second step is production. So we're going to start by learning how to understand Spanish, okay? Megan, ¿qué significa lápiz?
¿Qué significa pencil?
All right. Can you see that, Francis?
Sí, señor.
¿Qué significa? Libro.
Significa book.
¿Qué significa computadora?
Computadora significa computer.
All right. ¿Qué significa bien?
Bien significa well.
Right. ¿Qué significa personas?
Persona significa people.
Good. All right, you guys are doing great. I need somebody to answer wrong. Don't do that. ¿Qué significa cosas?
Cosas significa things.
No, you're supposed to answer.
Cosas significa house.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Megan, ¿qué significa empleado o empleada?
Empleado, empleada significa construction worker.
Okay, so that was not right, Megan. So when you don't get something right or you don't know, the idea with the flashcard is you just flip it over and you look at it. So you were way off with that one. It actually just means employee. So you flip it back over, say it out loud. Empleado or empleada means employee. And then you stick it back in the stack of flashcards so you can review it again, okay? And I promise you, next time you're gonna get it right. All right, what about this one? Profesor o profesora?
Profesor, profesora significa professor.
Nice. And next we have, what's that, papel?
Papel significa paper.
Director o directora?
Director, directora significa director.
Proyector?
Proyector significa projector.
Salón de conferencia.
Salón de conferencia significa conference room.
Pizarra.
Pizarra significa whiteboard.
Marcador.
Marcador significa marker.
Salón de clase.
Salón de clase significa classroom.
Televisión.
Televisión significa television.
Lugares.
Lugares significa places.
Español.
Español significa Spanish.
Bolígrafo.
Bolígrafo significa pen.
Estudiante.
Estudiante significa student.
Impresora.
Impresora significa printer.
Oficina.
Oficina significa office.
Empleado o empleada.
Empleado o empleada significa employee.
Nice. See, you got it wrong the first time, but the second time you got it 100% right. Nice job. All right. Now, we flip over to the production side, okay? So you want to, this time, go from English to Spanish. Employee. ¿Cómo se dice employee?
Go ahead, Francis.
Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Se dice empleado, empleada.
Muy bien. Office.
Se dice oficina.
Se dice impresora.
Se dice estudiante.
Se dice bolígrafo.
Se dice español.
Se dice lugares.
Se dice televisión.
Se dice salón de clase.
Se dice marcador.
Se dice pizarra.
Se dice salón de conferencia.
Se dice proyector.
Se dice director.
Se dice papel.
Se dice profesor o profesora.
Se dice cosas.
Se dice personas.
Se dice, bueno, no lo veo muy bien. Se dice bien. Gracias.
All right.
Se dice computadora.
Se dice libro.
Se dice lápiz.
All right, nice job with that activity, everybody. So the idea with this is to make learning Spanish easier. Languages are very complex things. And if you don't have a really good strategy, it will be very challenging to learn how to speak it. On the other hand, if you make it simple, it'll be a pretty simple and enjoyable experience. So hit your flashcards. After I do a lesson with my students, I typically assign homework, so you get homework from today. But the first step is to just spend the next couple of days memorizing the new vocabulary, and then the homework will be a breeze. All right, so this is what you learned today. Why don't I have you ask each other these questions, okay?
Okay. Shall I start, Megan?
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Ajá. Hola, me llamo Francis. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Megan.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
¿De dónde eres?
Soy de Estados Unidos.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Denver.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en Modelo.
¿Qué te gusta?
Me gusta ver películas.
¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono?
Es 303-915-5443.
Is it nuevo 15 or nueve?
9.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Hola, me llamo Megan. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Francis.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien, gracias.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
¿De dónde eres?
Soy de Barbados.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Aurora.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en Montbello.
¿Qué te gusta?
Me gusta leer.
¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono?
Mi número de teléfono es 719-464-2525.
All right. Nice job with that. So after you meet somebody in Spanish, you can use these to say goodbye. Estamos en contacto means let's stay in touch. Me parece bien means sounds good. Why don't you go ahead, Megan and Francis?
So, estamos en contacto.
Me parece bien.
Hasta luego means until later, and nos vemos is like saying see ya. Go ahead.
Hasta luego.
Nos vemos.
All right, nice job. So that was it for lesson number 1. You can always download Duolingo to help you practice in between classes, as well as another app that I really love is Quizlet. It's kind of a flashcard simulator. So download those 2 apps. Those will really help you out while you're learning how to speak a new language. But just to reiterate, you know, this